Chapter 1 of my novel by Jeff Kirpas. As the boy awoke on that fine September morning, he called to mind the task ahead of him. He sat up in his bed and nearly hit his head on the ceiling. He disregarded the ladder and hopped down from his top bunk, landing lightly on his feet. Jeff never had been one for taking the slow route, but rather felt a need for speed in his life. Whether it was doing math homework or running up and down the basketball court, he always completed his task as fast as possible. Patience did not exist in his vocabulary. Jeff strode into the bathroom to brush his teeth. His brown eyes glistened in the mirror, complementing his reflection of his short auburn hair. Each bruise and red mark on his lean body told the tale in itself of some particular event in his life. His hands provide a home to multiple calluses from the wear and tear of the gridiron, hardwood, and classroom. He takes great pride in his features, for he enjoys his features, particularly his hair. Jeff is a smart boy. He works hard in school and pays attention to detail. He excels in math and finds a lot of interest in solving problems. However, not all subjects come easy to him, as he struggles in English. His parents drive some of his work ethic from him as he fears letting them down. Many things craft his personality, but nothing more unique than his faith. Having been raised in a strong Catholic background, he dedicates 1 hour a week to church on Sundays, every single weekend. As a toddler, he aspired to serve on the altar like other boys before him, and he achieved his goal. Now he knows he will eventually retire from the service and move on to lecturing to the congregation. Jeff finishes brushing his teeth and descends down the stairs to the second-floor bathroom. He turns on the shower and waits as the water heats up. His shower time provides him with a place to think without distractions from the noise and chatter from his 4 other siblings and 2 demanding parents. On this instance, he recalls a memory which has defined his life. The memory took place a few years prior at the ripe young age of 8. Jeff and his family went on a trip to their summer house up in Hiram, Maine. Every single year, Jeff and his brothers would fish right in front of their house for these 2 massive largemouth bass. The fish swam by the beach so often that they earned nicknames from the boys. Monster was the lesser, and Monstrosity was the leader of the 2 beasts. The memory flew through his head in flashes. The pass by, retrieving his rod, setting the hook, the fight, and ultimately, the climax. As Jeff entered the shower, he decided to take a trip down memory lane to that very day. As he heard the cry from his sister on the back porch, he knew the fish were back again. He exited the house and stood next to her on the edge of the deck to see for himself, and there they floated. They stood out like boulders in a desert over the white sand of the shallow water. His brothers scrambled around to find their rods, but Jeff walked coolly to the fridge to retrieve his bait, and then smoothly down the stairs to grab his tool for the task. He made his way to the beach area and entered into the docked boat on the shore. As he readied his rod with his worm in hand and hook, his sister and youngest brother threw worms to the creatures relaxing near the shore. The fish finally swam off towards the protection of the lily pads, and Jeff made his cast, accurately placing the worm right off the edge of the reeds so the fish would notice it, yet so it could not be entangled in the muck. A different feeling from the other encounters with Monster and Monstrosity came over him. Prior to this meeting, Jeff acted in a rushed manner, forcing his will upon the fish and not letting the fish come to him. Today, he handled the fish in a calm, collected manner. He slowly began to reel the slack out of his line. Ripples paced the water from the initial impact of the hook breaking the surface. He finally felt a point of resistance, and he knew one of the creatures fed on his food. He cocked back his rod and jerked hard across his body, and the battle was on. The fish responded by tearing off into the depths of the lake. The pull nearly ripped the rod out of Jeff's hands. His dad cried out from the top of the deck to flip the bail of the reel. His index finger slipped the top looser, and the tension in the line released. They arrived at a standstill as Jeff prepared to re-engage the fish. He pulled his line tense one more, but the fish would not give in. He could hear the whizzing of the line flying out of his reel. The cork handle felt warm in his sweaty hands as he furiously spun the reel, only to have the fish pull out twice as much line. His knuckles had passed from tan to white as the fish attempted to break free. Finally, the fish began to tire. After a duel of nearly 15 minutes, the beast had met its match. Jeff did still not know which of the two creatures had took his bait. As the fish swam into view in the shallows of the lake, his sister cried out, "Monstrosity!" A feeling of joy and elation overcame him. After numerous trials, he managed to overcome his task of catching the giant fish. His dad waded into the water to corral the fish. He congratulated his son on achieving his goal. His mother looked onward from the deck and smiled down at him. His three younger brothers and youngest sister lined the shore trying to get a glimpse at the true size of the fish. His dad grasped Monstrosity by the mouth and pulled it from the lake. Its massive dark green side shone forth in the sun. A sleek black stripe ran forth from head to fin down the side of the fish, blending in with its side and underbelly, was as white as the sand. Jeff grabbed the fish from his father and nearly dropped it due to the weight. The body of the fish ran down the boy's entire arm. He triumphantly raised it up for his trophy picture, so this tale will not fade into another fish tale. After each sibling got a chance to look, touch, or hold the creature, Jeff finally released the fish back into the water. Then something quite interesting occurred. The fish did not dart off into the muck, but rather hovered for a second at the boy's feet. It was as if the fish offered the boy his respect for winning their great duel. As the boy began to exit the shore, the fish turned and swam back to its home in the depths of the lake. Boom, boom, boom went his mother's pounding on the door as she ordered Jeff to finish his shower, for he had spent some 20 minutes reminiscing about that glorious day. Many positive things came out of that success. For the first time, he accomplished something on his own and impressed his ever-critical younger brothers. He made his mother and father proud, which was something he prided himself upon. Ultimately, he experienced the joy of catching his first big fish, and to that moment, the biggest fish that any of his siblings had ever caught. He exited the shower and began to dry his damp skin. He wondered what the rest of his day would be like, and if he could follow up such a memorable memory. As he skipped down the stairs for breakfast, he realized that every day held the potential to offer him memories, such as his glorious fishtail.